Hey, what is up, legends? My name is Derek J. Nobody to say we are back with another powerlifting update. In the background, I'm going to be playing some Modern Warfare 3. I was playing this like Horde Point, I think it was called. It's like zombies and Hardpoint mixed together. I don't know. It was a weird mode. Look, I can't play this game like in normal TDM Hardpoint because this game infuriates me. So we're playing a fun little interesting mode with zombies in it because it was the only thing I could bring myself to do without getting mad. So that's not the focal point of the video. The focal point of the video is obviously talking about my lifting update, my progress. Obviously, I think keeping with the theme, I think we're still 2 weeks behind technically. Yesterday was, I'm filming this video on a Sunday, the 22nd. So last week, 14th, nothing too crazy to report on. I did hit a bench PR. I'm not going to throw it in the video or anything just because I think we'll get to this week and it's a little bit better. So we'll save that for this week. But I do have some stuff to talk about in general for this week. So we're going to skip last week's. Nothing too crazy happened. It was all pretty much just standard lifts, no PRs other than bench. But I did hit 330, I believe, on bench, or 325. No, 330. I hit 330. Which up to my total a good amount, but we have some good news for this week. So let's just skip last week. I did hit that bench PR of 330, but let's just skip right on to this week because I think this week puts the icing on the cake, if you know what I mean. So keeping with tradition, we started with the squat today. I did have the option to start with bench if I wanted to because this is my peak bench week, my week 4 bench. I didn't want to though, just because I always feel like squatting primes me for other lifts better than if I were just going to bench cold. Not cold, obviously I'd warm up. I always just feel like I'm more prepared for bench after squat, and I believe in most powerlifting meets it goes squat, bench, deadlift anyway. So that's going to keep me true to the format there. A little bit different for powerlifting meets, obviously, because you're usually waiting hours in between the lifts. So I wanted to keep it the same as it always has been. Didn't want to change anything. So I squatted first. My working set, my top set was 485 for 1. So we hit the 485 for 1, and that was at an RP of 8.5. So I roughly had another rep and a half left in the tank, which is pretty solid. Nothing too crazy. Like obviously my squat isn't going to blow up after I hit 500 and be able to do 485 for 5 reps or whatever. But again, especially with how I performed earlier in that week, I had some struggles with just getting super fatigued in the middle of the week, and just feeling weak and having the bar feel super heavy on my back. So we kind of dialed it in and then was able to do that on Saturday. So I was happy with it. 485 at 8.5. It's pretty solid. Like I said, my max right now is 500 with the last video that I talked about it. But yeah, again, nothing too crazy to talk about. It was just a pretty solid Saturday. Obviously not a PR, but still pretty good. And then after that, we did 435 for 3 reps. I believe at a 6.5 at 6. So not at 6.5, at 6. So I had roughly 4 reps up to the tank. 435 for 3 is, again, pretty solid. I think my highest, I just talked about it in the other video too, what my 5 rep PR was. I think it's 420 or something like that. So 435 for 3 at 6. Again, nothing crazy, not much to talk about, but that's what I did. Felt pretty good. I felt decent on this Saturday. Nothing too bad to report until we get to deadlifts, but I'll talk about that in a minute. But the focal point of today's video is bench press. So this is my week 4 bench, my peak week for bench, and this was a long time coming. I feel like it's been a while since I've really attempted like a big jump in bench press. It's been pretty small increments here and there, and honestly I feel like my bench has always been my weakest lift, and it's harder for me to PR on bench, and maybe everybody to PR on bench than it is like squat and deadlift. So yeah, going in today, the plan was I was going to try to hit 335, 340, and 345. We'd got done squatting and I started warming up for bench, worked my way up to 330. The 330 attempt, I'll throw it on the screen now, went pretty good. I actually did hit the rack on the way back up, which was kind of annoying. Sometimes I set up a little bit too far back in the bench, so my head is like basically at the end of the bench, so I'll be really close to the rack when I'm pushing it back up, which is a bad habit of mine. But I got the lift. I think it made it harder because I hit the rack and kind of lost a little bit of stability there, but I did get that. So that was a 5-pound PR. So I needed 5 pounds on top of any PR to hit 1,400 total. So 330, that's a 5-pound PR for me. That puts me at 1400. The total wasn't really in the conversation as far as like me deciding on which number to go for. I really just wanted to go for the top end number because in the previous week when I did 330, I went from 325 to 330. I feel like the 330 was just a lot harder because I went for the 325 before that. So what I wanted to do this week was just not leave any room for, man, I shouldn't have done that, or, you know, I didn't want to second guess myself. So what I did was just went straight from 330 to 345. I didn't want any room for like, oh, I was too tired. Oh, if I didn't go for 340, I would have got that. So we just went straight for 345. I felt like it was a better call, just because I really wanted that number. I just, you know, as soon as it was in my head, I knew that I wasn't going for 340. I wanted 345. So we went for 345 and I got it. It was a little bit of a struggle. I don't think the pause was as definitive as it should have been. You know, it was a little bit quick on the bottom there. So something that I just have to be conscious of. I don't think it determined, like, I don't think that if I would have had to pause for another half a second that I wouldn't have got that rep. I was getting that rep regardless. But one thing I did really well on that 345, better than the 330, was I held it at the top longer, which is going to be like what it's going to be in a competition, where once you push the weight up, you're going to have to wait for that re-rack command. And I didn't do that in the 330, but I did do it in the 345. So overall, really happy with bench. It's come a long way. My previous max, like before I started really taking powerlifting serious, was 315, and before that I had never even thought I'd be able to bench 315. It's always been my weakest by far lift. But I think with the introduction of a lot of different accessories and just doing different things I normally would have done, especially for upper body stuff, I would kind of just do the same things every day before I started with a coach and taking the powerlifting seriously. So I think having a lot of different accessories and having just that variation in training and training things specifically for my weak points is really helping in bench. So it's actually becoming one of my stronger lifts. I mean, 330 or 345 for me is pretty good, and I know a lot of guys are probably benching more than that at my weight class, but for me, it's pretty solid. I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of, actually. I think 345 is pretty crazy. New total is 1410, I believe, if I'm doing that math correctly, which is insane, dude. I never thought after a few months that I would be hitting a 1,400 pound total. That was my goal before. Like, I wanted to be at 1,400 after my first meet. I thought that would be a good goal to have, but now, I mean, I could have my sights set on 1450 or 1500. You never know. It really, especially once you're up on that platform and you have all that adrenaline, you really just never know what you're capable of. So the best we can do is just keep training and, you know, putting our best foot forward and seeing what I have in me. And then hopefully when that day comes, we can hit some PRs up on that platform. But moving on, we then go to deadlifts. This was the shitty part because I hit a bench PR. I hit 345, and then, you know, my total is 1410. I'm riding high. I'm on top of the world, right? And then we get to deadlifts, and I feel like shit. I was warming up to get to my top set. I was supposed to hit 545 for 1 at 9. Didn't get up to that. I got up to 495 as my last warm-up set, and went to pick it up off the ground, and my grip gave out, which has happened to me before. I've had, you know, days where my grip just doesn't feel good. So I took a minute, just reset, or took a minute to reset, just, you know, sat there, listened to my music, locked in. I was ready to go. And that's the thing, is I felt really good mentally on this day. I was energized. I didn't feel tired. I didn't feel, you know, just out of it. Like I was excited to be at the gym. I was excited to do my lifts. But for whatever reason, just deadlift just didn't feel good on this day. So thankfully, I reset. I was able to get 495, but it was at like an RP of 9, maybe 10. It was really hard. So we ended up just calling it a fatigue stop there. We shut it down. Basically, the thought process behind that is, A, I'm probably not even going to be able to get 545 off the ground, and B, it's going to be more harm than good even if I do eat it off the ground. There's no benefit of me picking that up and exerting myself that much just to, you know, squeeze out a rep where my back is rounding and my fucking form is terrible. So even if I could get it, and I don't think I would have been able to get it on that day. So we shut it down there, moved on to hack squats, which was my last accessory for the day. So I did do 495. I'll throw that in there. You guys can see how difficult it was for me. And I want to put that in there just because I feel like I haven't really, I think I talked about it once or twice, but just some of the bad parts of powerlifting. But, you know, I feel like you got to be honest and just show that it's not always sunshine and rainbows. You know, when you're talking hundreds and hundreds of pounds on your back or picking up off the ground, like some days you're just not going to have it. Some days it's just not going to feel good. And sometimes it's something that you can, plan for. Like for me, my week 1 deadlifts are always bad. And that's something that we're aware of, and we can plan for it and kind of build the program around that. But then sometimes some unexpected thing will happen where you go in, you feel good, but you're just weaker for whatever reason. It could be, you could be detrained from missing a day during the week. It could just be, you're fighting off a sickness and you don't even feel sick, but you're fighting something off, so it's harder. Which is true in my case, because I was on Monday, I didn't feel good, so I didn't go. So it could be a multitude of things, and I just wanted to be honest and just tell you guys, like, it's not always, oh, PR. There's gonna be, it's peaks and valleys, bro. It's the same as life. Like, everything happens, you can't control it, every little thing to every minute detail. You can try, but sometimes shit's just gonna happen, and it's not gonna feel good one day, and it's gonna be harder, and you gotta push yourself, but sometimes it's not even worth pushing yourself to that point, because it's just gonna do more harm than good for you. So it's a really hard thing, especially for me to come to terms with, is like fatigue stopping, and just telling myself, like, look, you're better off not doing it at this point, because if you do it, you could hurt yourself. There's a million other things that could happen. It's just not worth it. You can learn more from taking this, looking at maybe the reason why it happened, and then preventing it from happening in the future. So, but I just wanted to point that out, just because I feel like it's important to share the bad things just as much as it is the good. In case any of you are thinking about getting into powerlifting, it's really important to know, like, it's not every week it's going to be PRs on PRs on PRs. It's not feasible. It's just not how it works. Especially once you start getting up there in weight. I mean, if something feels a little bit heavier, is on any given day, it could change it from an RPE 6 to an RPE 9. You never know. So it's just really important, I think, to keep your head up and stay positive. It's really easy to let that eat away at you. It's like, oh, I couldn't even pick up 495, but my max is 565. I'm getting weaker in deadlift. I'm losing it. But I guarantee you, in a week's time, I could probably go back in there and deadlift 545 at 8. So it's really just trying to figure out why it happened, if you can, and maybe trying to prevent it in the future. I think me and my coach are talking about possibly doing like a full week of deload, which is just a lot lighter weights and just focusing on technique and like force production and stuff like that. So, and maybe that's something that I need to do in order for my body to recover from it. So everybody's a little bit different. I talked about it a lot. Every athlete is different. That's why it's important to structure your programs for you. And it's hard to do those free programs that you see online that are built for mass amounts of people, and maybe they will work for a while, but eventually you're going to run into a point where certain things with your body, certain aspects of the way you lift, are going to hinder you or help you, and stuff like that is really important to understand. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I have to talk about today, guys. Obviously, huge accomplishment that we hit 1,400 pound total. Really happy with the progress. I got kind of emotional in the gym just when I hit that 330, because I never thought I'd get to a point where I was, lifting 1,400 pounds. I think that's a really solid total. I have a lot of potential in this sport, and I think after my first meet, and I still don't know when it is, but after my first meet, I don't see myself stopping. That could change just based on how the meet goes, but just with everything right now and how much I'm enjoying it and how much I love just doing it and seeing the progress and seeing how my body's changed, it's a lot of fun. I'm really falling in love with it. That's all I have for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please comment in the comment section down below. Maybe like me, share with your friends, hit that notification bell to be notified every time I post a new video. Thanks, guys. See y'all in the next one. Peace.